In the late 1990s, a group of young men came together, built an empire, and destroyed it. One was Tunde, one was Shifi, and the last one was Zeal. They became one of the most loved R&B groups in Nigeria. They were stylish, they were different, they were talented, and their voices could make anyone fall in love. But one day, everything they built fell apart. And one of them, Tunde, was accused of leaving the group. They called him a betrayer. They called him all sorts of names. But what if I told you this is not a real story? This is the sad story of STYL-Plus, a Nigerian R&B group who once ruled the airwaves with timeless love songs. But when the world needed them the most, they went their separate ways. In this documentary, I'm going to reveal the secrets, the real story behind the fame, and the silent fallout that broke STYL-Plus. My name is Prince Theophilus, and this is Fame and Fallout. To understand how STYL-Plus came together and what tore them apart, we have to go back to the very beginning. Before STYL-Plus became a household name, there was another group called STYL, a group made up of Shifi Omoefe, Tunde Akisanmi, Yemi Akinwumi, and Lanre Faneyi. These four friends were all students at FUTA, Federal University of Technology, Akure, in the late 1990s. They loved singing, especially R&B and soul harmonies.
I was in FUTA, Tunde was in FUTA too, and we're in the same hostel, and I now met him in school. And we started singing together just for fun, really, in our rooms. And we had this third guy in the next room, Yemi, that used to come and sing for fun too. So three of us started singing together. From Tunde could play the keyboard then. Then we decided one day, let's go on stage and perform. So we actually did an a cappella together. We did two a cappellas, 2 different times. And then one day wanted to do an a cappella, we needed a fourth part. So we now called on of our friends, Lanre. And Lanre joined the group. So we now decided, okay, since we're going to be performing, let's have a stage name. We now formed ST as in Shifi, Tunde, Yemi, Lanre, STYL, and started singing.
They performed at campus events, local gatherings, and small shows around town. Their chemistry was natural. Their voices blended perfectly, and their dream was clear. They wanted to make beautiful music. They weren't chasing fame yet. They were chasing purpose, but fate has something else planned for them, because in the very early days of their career, something tragic happened. In 1999, Lanre Faneyi, the L in his style, tragically passed away in a swimming accident. It was a huge blow to the group.
Sang from 97 to like 99 till then, when unfortunately Lanre passed away and we're left just 3 of us.
It wasn't just a bandmate, it was a brother. For a while, the remaining 3 went quiet. They weren't sure if they want to continue, but eventually music called them back together. They decided to keep going, not just for themselves, but in the memory of Lanre, and that is when Zeal came in.
Then we'd always know Zeal, because Zeal used to sing in school too, but Zeal was more of Zeal was singing everywhere. He used to sing a bit of choir, one group somewhere, he used to sing alone somewhere, he used to do so many things. And we actually wanted to go for a competition in Lagos one day, and we needed a 4th part again. So we now called Zeal, okay, come and do the 4th part. And he now became the plus, STYL-Plus.
Zeal, his full name, Zeal Onyecheme Amujiri, was also a student of FUTA. He had a smooth, rich voice and a deep love for harmony. Zeal was already a friend of the group. They had known him casually from campus shows and rehearsals. After Lanre's death, Tunde and Shifi reached out to Zeal. They needed a new voice, but not just any voice, someone who understood their vision, someone who could blend musically and emotionally. So they all met, they sang together, and that was it. The harmony clicked. The energy felt right. Then style became STYL-Plus. The plus was for Zeal, but it also symbolized a new chapter, a second chance. From there, they never looked back. They later moved to Abuja, but as fate would have it, another founding member of the group stepped aside before the big break. His name, Yemi Akinwumi. He left the group in 2002 to pursue a different career, unofficially reducing STYL-Plus to a trio of Shifi, Tunde, and Zeal. They started working together with their manager and producer named Anthony Tijas Okpo and his brother Joseph, and that is where the journey truly began. When the music industry was gathering in Lagos, STYL-Plus decided to build their sound away from the noise. They started recording from home studios with cheap equipment, no label, no sponsors, just talent and faith. They wrote songs about love, heartbreak, hope, and emotions, and their sound was clean. No vulgar languages, no club gimmicks. They believed that good music will find its way to the hearts of the people. I wanna live my life like a holiday. They were not chasing trends, they just wanted to be original. Contrary to what people believe that if you want to make it in music, you must move to Lagos. They were not based in Lagos. They had no big record label. They were not on TV every day, but somehow STYL-Plus became one of the biggest groups in Nigeria. After forming STYL-Plus, the boys started working on a few songs. They had no studio on their own, no marketing team, and no serious money. But they had something more powerful, and that was raw talent. They recorded songs using borrowed equipment and help of a producer named Sunki, who later became part of their team. In 2003, they collectively launched an independent record label named STYL-Plus Music, giving the group full control of their work under Tijas and Joe's management. And in that same year, they released a song that changed their lives forever. That song was Olufunmi. The beat of Olufunmi was soft. The melody was emotional. The harmony, perfect. It felt like Boys to Men, but in Nigerian style. Be confusing me, or you could be the girl in the world that I know through the rough times gonna stay true. It sounded like something from abroad, but the message was African. The radio station started playing the song non-stop. Even people that didn't understand Yoruba could feel the heartbreak in the lyrics. That song became an instant classic. Olufunmi blew up so fast that it shocked the industry. It dominated the radio chart in 2003 and 2004. It was played at weddings, birthday parties, and even funerals. STYL-Plus started getting booked across Nigeria, from Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, everywhere. Music promoters began begging to manage them. Fans were screaming their name. They never needed to dance. They never needed any scandals, just clean music, sweet melodies, and relatable lyrics. STYL-Plus became the new face of R&B in Nigeria. After Olufunmi, many people thought it was a one-time hit, but STYL-Plus said, "We are not done yet." In 2004, they dropped another song titled Runaway. If I could run away, I'd run with you. That song was about heartbreak again, but in a new, catchy way. The video had emotion, the production was tight, and their fan base doubled. As a teenager, Runaway used to be my favorite song. In 2005, they released another amazing love song. That song was Imagine That. Everybody move your body now. Tomorrow is a good day. Imagine that. Imagine that. It was smooth, it was classy, and it was deep. They were not chasing trends. They were creating their own lane. By this time, STYL-Plus had officially moved from underground stars to mainstream superstars. By 2006, STYL-Plus dropped their debut album, and that album was Expressions. It wasn't just an album, it was a celebration of everything they had built over the years. Every song on the album was a hit. They added Olufunmi, Runaway, and Imagine That to the album, and other amazing songs like Iya Basira, Call My Name, Stay alive. And drives me crazy. Expression didn't just do well, it dominated. It sold over 500,000 physical copies in the era of piracy. It became one of the fastest selling Nigerian albums at that time. STYL-Plus got nominations and awards, local and international. TV stations played their videos every single day. Their concerts were packed from university to major arenas. They were booked across Nigeria, Ghana, UK, South Africa, and everywhere they went, the crowd was ready. People cried when they sang Runaway. People screamed when they sang Olufunmi. STYL-Plus were no longer upcoming. They were kings of African R&B. They became a movement. They proved that you could make sweet music and still succeed in a tough industry. They sang in English, Yoruba, and Pidgin, and everybody related. No club vibe, no auto-tune, just raw vocals and clean delivery. After Expression, fans were expecting a second album, back-to-back hit, but that didn't happen. Months passed, then a year, then 2 years. STYL-Plus started slowing down and people started asking, where is STYL-Plus? In 2007, they released another album titled Back and Better, and that album had a hit song like 4 years. 4 years was a song that is saying, after 4 years, they are still together regardless of the struggle. But little did they know that that is going to be their last album. Because from outside, STYL-Plus looked perfect. The music was sweet. The shows were packed and the fans were loyal. But inside the group, they were no longer balanced. And this is where the story turned dark. STYL-Plus did not have a big record label backing. They were not signed to Kenny's Music, not even Storm Record. They were running everything by themselves. They had a company. They had managers, but they did not have a strong structure. No clear contract, no proper documentation, and no written rule that states who controls what, who owns what, and who decides what. Everything was based on, we are brothers, we sort it out anyway. But the music industry does not respect brotherhood. It respects structure. And when structure is missing, everything falls apart. That is why I tell artists and record label executives, before you get into the music business, learn about the business. Learn about ownership. Don't get into a business that you know nothing about. So, if you are a record label executive looking for the best marketing strategy and a structure, click the link in the description right now to book a session with me. And I will guide you so you can avoid common music business mistakes. Now, let's get back to the story. As shows increased, money started coming in. STYL-Plus were having big shows, private events, and international bookings. But here is the problem. STYL-Plus money was being split in 5 ways. 3 artists, 2 managers. That means even when the group was earning well, each member was taking home very less than expected. They did not separate songwriters from artists, producers from managers, because everybody needs to have different percentage, not equal share. But STYL-Plus did not know this.
STYL-Plus as a whole was making enough money, but guess what? We were splitting any show money 5 ways.
Why?
So the management, 2 people, I, Shifi, and Zeal.
So the management were taking an equal share?
Yeah, based on the fact that we opened a company and just incorporated, and we all had equal shares as 5 directors.
At first, nobody complained. They were still young, still excited about fame. But as time goes on, questions started rising quietly. Questions like, how much did we really make from that show? Why are things slowing down? Why are we not reinvesting into music? Nobody wanted to sound ungrateful, so nobody spoke out loudly. But that was another mistake. The music business is not good for too much friendship and familiarity. No matter what happened, everything should be spelled out in contract. But the entire team of STYL-Plus didn't think about this. This is where the real problem started. Inside STYL-Plus, everyone was not thinking the same way. Some people wanted to slow down, enjoy what they had built, and focus on other businesses. But here is a problem. Tunde got married in the year 2010 and he needed money. He had responsibility, so he started pushing the group to do something new. He wanted new music, new ideas, and new moves. He wanted STYL-Plus to grow, not just survive. He wanted a structure, he wanted planning, he wanted action, but every time he pushed, he felt blocked. Tunde had ideas. He had ideas to release new song, try new sound, and build side projects. But according to him, those ideas were often rejected. Not because the ideas were bad, but because that is not how STYL-Plus does things. Slowly, he started feeling trapped. Not trapped by music, but trapped by inaction. And when a creative person feels trapped, frustration begins. Because years were passing, but STYL-Plus was not releasing a new song. Fans were asking, where is the next album? Why are they quiet? STYL-Plus was still performing songs from 2003 and 2006. Beautiful songs, yes, but no new chapter. And for Tunde, this was scary because in the music industry, if you stop moving, you disappear. At this point, Tunde was tired. He was frustrated, but he didn't want to break the group apart. But in 2011, something strange happened. In 2011, Chiefy featured on a song My Sexy by Sgt. Plus without the knowledge of Tunde. When Tunde saw it, he was shocked. He felt they were on a silent mission to go their separate ways. So he also went his way to try something small, not to betray the group, not to compete with them, just to stay creative. He recorded a song quietly, not under the name STYL-Plus, not even under his own name. It was meant to support a clothing idea. But when others found out, it became a problem. To them, it looked like Tunde is going solo. But to Tunde, it felt like, I'm just trying to survive. That misunderstanding widened the gap. And they started spreading the news that Tunde left the group.
The impression that I left the group is very untrue. So in 2011, they released a song with someone called Sgt. Plus. The song is on YouTube, you can go listen to it, And he featured him. I thought, okay, this guy's doing it now. I can do my own stuff because
that's the new rule.
Yeah, that's the new rule. So I was trying to create a clothing line back then. And I was going to be using STYL-Plus money, my share, to be funding the clothing line. And I did a song called In Your Eyes, the same title that I released about a month ago. It was experimental at that time. And I called the artist Native Boy. I didn't put my image on it because I wanted to protect the STYL-Plus brand. Nobody even heard the song, So Zeal saw me recording the song because we were both frustrated that she wasn't coming through to record. He now started recording his song. We were in Lagos back then, And Zeal traveled to Abuja. The next thing I got a message from our patron saying, the boy sent it to him that Tunde has really disrespected us. If he doesn't drop this song within 2 weeks, that they won't sing a new song, record a new song with him, or perform any of the old songs with him. You get? And for me, I was married. I needed to pay my bills.
It seems like they were tired of Tunde's complaints and they used that opportunity to push him away finally. But when a song was finally released, he received a message through a third party. And the message said, if he did not pull down the song, they would not record with him again and they would not perform with him again. To Tunde, that was like a threat and it hurt deeply.
I did the song, I released it. Mind you, they didn't tell me not to record it though. They knew I was going to release it, but after I released it, they told me to bring it down. Then I didn't even know how to bring anything down. So they threatened me, I was threatened, and I felt there can't be any STYL-Plus without me.
Tunde said something very painful. He said, I was married, I needed to pay bills, and they were threatening to stop singing with me. At that point, he realized something. STYL-Plus was no longer a partnership. It had become a power structure. After that incident, things got worse. Tunde said he stopped being called for shows. Whenever there is a show, only Shifi and Zeal will perform. Promoters will call for STYL-Plus because they wanted the three of them to perform. But according to Tunde, they made sure he was not involved, or they collected money separately and this broke him. Now, this is the final straw. Years later, Tunde tried again. He approached them and said, let's come back together. The fans want it. Their response shocked him. They told him if he wanted to return, he must take less money than them. Yet, they were still performing the songs that he helped create.
The last one that made me decide that I wasn't going to talk about this again was when they said, well, even if I were to come back together, that would I agree to take less than they are taking? I said, why would that be? You are still singing, you haven't done anything new. You are still doing the same songs that I, with my blood and sweat, created with you guys. Yeah, and even Zeal, who didn't write many of those hit songs, is actually, you're actually suggesting you take much more than me. I said, you know what, it's starting to sound like I'm needing you guys more than you need me. That let us just die the matter, let me just be doing.
And that was the moment Tunde stopped begging. So, let's be clear. According to Tunde, he did not announce a solo career. He did not destroy STYL-Plus. He did not betray anyone. He was boxed out, threatened, excluded, and eventually he stepped away to protect his sanity. But one question remains. Why didn't Tunde speak out earlier? He said, I did not want to spoil any chance of reunion. He stayed quiet for years, absorbed the insult, carried the shame, and watched his legacy being rewritten until he couldn't take it anymore. He said he never knew what he did to Zeal Onyecheme. His calls were ignored, his message unanswered. Even in meetings, he said Zeal doesn't talk to him. STYL-Plus did not end with a bang. It ended with silence, distance, power, money, and a brother who felt erased from his own legacy. This was no longer about friendship. It was no longer about music. This was about legacy, about ownership, about who controls the past, and this is where the real war began. After Tunde was pushed aside, something happened. STYL-Plus did not stop. The name continued, the songs continued, the shows continued, but one person was missing. And according to Tunde, that missing person was not missing by choice. Tunde revealed something more shocking. He said, till today, there is no STYL-Plus bank account. Now, let that sink. A group that ruled Nigerian music, a group that toured countries, a group that sold hundreds of thousands of records, yet no official group account. Money passed through personal hands. When Tunde questioned this, it was called difficult, problematic, and too serious. But he said he only wanted one thing. He wanted things to be done properly. When streaming platform became a thing in the music industry, Shifi and Zeal uploaded STYL-Plus songs on streaming platform. Suddenly, the old songs started earning again. But Tunde noticed something strange. He was not informed. It was not credited properly. It was not even paid. The song that he helped created were now online and his name was missing. And to make matters worse, the pictures that appear on streaming platform are pictures of Zeal and Shifi. Credits were altered. It was starting to look like history was being rewritten. This was the part that hurt Tunde the most. He said there is an effort to erase me from that legacy. Albums appear online with only 2 faces, yet those songs were created by 3 voices. To Tunde, this was not business, this was personal. For years, Tunde said he did not understand publishing. No one educated him. No one explained songwriting split, royalties, and catalog ownership to him. But when he finally learned about the music business, he acted. He documented his contribution. He listed songs he worked on. He gave credit even to the people that did not give him credit. But this move caused another explosion because, according to Tunde, one member believed that he was trying to remove them from the catalog. But that was a miscommunication. He said, I was only trying to claim what I work on. Still, no one spoke to him directly. No phone call, no explanation, just anger and silence. At this point, Tunde had enough. He contacted his lawyers not to fight, but to protect his legacy. He said if they wanted to sing, they could sing, but the name STYL-Plus belonged to all of them, not two people. And using it without agreement was wrong. That letter triggered something ugly.
So there came a time, I think about 2021 or 22, I got my lawyer, a lawyer I had then, to write Shifi and Zeal, that, you know what, you guys can't continue using the name STYL-Plus. Because I wouldn't be using the name STYL-Plus, it's going to cause a lot of confusion. And me coming solo as STYL-Plus wouldn't make any sense. You know, that until we resolve the usage of this name, which they always try not to talk about, because it favors them there too. Whatever it is they tell people, people believe, you know, that until we resolve it, they shouldn't use the name.
After the legal letter, Tunde received a message, not a discussion, not for negotiation, an insult-filled message, threatening, abusive, violent word. At that moment, Tunde realized something painful. This was no longer misunderstanding. This was war. When Tunde walked away from STYL-Plus, he did not walk into freedom. He walked into confusion. Not emotional confusion, but identity confusion. The moment Tunde left the group, he faced a big problem. The name STYL-Plus was no longer safe for him to use. Not because he wasn't a founder, but because the group name had become a legal and business issue. Using the name could cause future lawsuits, and any record deal could trap him. So he made a painful decision. He dropped the name that made him famous, and he became Tunde T. That name was meant to be clean, neutral, and safe. It was his way of saying, I'm starting again without trouble. But here is the problem. Nobody knew Tunde T. The industry only knew Tunde of STYL-Plus. His fans were searching for STYL-Plus Tunde, but online they found T. And T. was mixed with other artists, DJs, and random profiles. And the name Tunde is too popular to stand out. In fact, most people confuse his Instagram handle with Tunde Ednut. His identity was lost in the crowd. On streaming platforms, his songs mixed with other people's songs. Royalties from other Tunde artists entered his account. His real fans couldn't find him. Even radio presenters were confused. No matter the name he used, people kept telling him, why don't you go back to your group? Every interview, every performance, every comment session, STYL-Plus followed him like a shadow. He tried to escape from it, but the legacy refused to leave him. And slowly, Tunde realized something. Running away from STYL-Plus was running away from his own history. One day, a respected industry insider spoke to him honestly, and the message was simple. Why are you running away from your legacy? People are looking for STYL-Plus Tunde, not Tunde T. Go and change your name. That advice hit him hard because it was true. But there was still a problem. He could not legally use STYL-Plus fully, so he did something smart. He didn't reclaim the group name. He attached it to his identity and it became Tunde STYL-Plus. Not claiming the group, not hijacking the brand, just saying, this is who I am. I was here and I helped build this brand. Before making this video, I reached out to Shifi and Zeal to see if I could get their part of the story, but there was no response. And in all their interviews, when they asked them about Tunde, I noticed they always try to dodge the answer by saying, Tunde left the group and they are cool with Tunde. This is all they always say.
He left the group a few years ago to do his personal stuff.
But sadly, this is how STYL-Plus, the R&B group that gave Africa beautiful music, suddenly faded away. What do you think about this story? Do you think Tunde would have done something differently? Let me know in the comment section. But this is not the end of the story because I'm going to look for a way to hear Shifi and Zeal's part of the story. If you like stories like this, you might also like to watch The Secret That Separated P-Square. Click here right now to watch it, or click here to watch more Fame and Fallout stories. You can also check the comment section to check out the new Fame and Fallout YouTube channel where I talk about foreign celebrities. Thank you for watching, and if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the bell button so you don't miss other amazing stories like this one.